Good day and welcome to our roundtable discussion. I'm Dominic Carter. I've been a journalist in this town for 30 years. And I'd like to say that it is a tremendous honor to introduce our guest. She is the president of CWA Local 1180, Gloria Middleton. Madam President, it's so nice to be here with you today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure
Of
to be
course.
here.
Now, you have made history, and let's get to it. You became president of the union in January of 2018. Now, you're the first woman president.
Yes,
And you're also the first person of color
yes,
to lead the 9,000 plus members of your union.
yes.
It is remarkable. We have some very important things to talk to you about. We'll get to that in just a second. Now, the purpose of today's roundtable discussion is to talk about issues of importance to the labor movement and to local 1180 members here in New York City, New York State, and even nationally. Topics that impact the lives of working men and women of all ages, races, nationalities, color, and socio-economic status. The roundtable is not only a way for President Middleton to address topics that she gets asked about regularly all the time, but also to hear what members have to say. The 4 members that will be joining us were chosen as representatives from varying segments of the population the union represents. Now, before the actual roundtable, President Middleton, there are 2 very important topics that we need to get to right off the gate, and that is the contract negotiations and the EEO case, the lawsuit settlement. Which one do you want to begin with?
Let's start with contract negotiations.
Okay, let's do it.
Because that affects all the members of CWA and Local 1180. And I get to ask this question many times, what's happening with the contract. And recently in our communique, we put in the paper exactly how contract negotiations evolve. And it's not a one meeting, one negotiation circumstance. First of all, we're a bottom up local. So we start with the members, doing surveys, asking the members what they want in the contract. DC 37 has the bargaining certificate for all city employees, so they sort of set the bar as to what the raises will be. Other issues that we have personally with the local, that's our unit contract, and so we then ask those questions of our members and see what they need and see how best we can provide those items in the contract. So at this point, we've done the surveys, we've gotten our contract bargaining committee that's evolved through the stewards. That's been done. We have created our demands. And that's done through the stewards and the bargaining committee and the executive board. We've done that part. We had our first meeting with the Office of Collective Bargaining, where we present the demands. And the city says yay, nay, to whatever those demands are, or they say, well, we have to go back and talk about it. So right now we're in our 3rd meeting with the city, and we are in what we call the technical meetings. The city sets aside a certain amount of money, not only for the contractual raises, but for what they call the additional compensation fund. And this fund is used for items such as differentials. We have experience differentials. We have, depending on what job you're doing, there are differentials for the job type that you have. We have longevity pays, et cetera. And we look to see how we can use this money to get the best bang for our buck. We have our analysts look at the numbers to make sure that the city isn't cheating us out of any money, of course, and to see how we can spread the money around totally to our members so that everybody gets a share of the action.
One of the questions that you face from your members is, why do DC 37 members have their funds and your members don't?
Okay. First of all, DC 37, as I said earlier, has the bargaining certificate, so they will go to the table first. Their contract ended in October 2017. Our contract ended May 2018. So it's just natural that they would get paid first before we do. And there are over, I can't tell you how many locals in the city that have contract dates in order subsequent from 2016 to the present. Some of those people who have contracts in 2017 still have not gotten to the table yet. We pushed to get to the table, so we're there now, and we hope to get our members paid as soon as we get these negotiations done.
Including this segment, in the current times that we live in, you're telling me that women were paid differently. In some cases, the range, in your words, 53,000 up to 150,000 for what essentially amounted to doing the same job.
Yes, yes, yes.
But now you took the unprecedented step to a degree in terms of suing. You've settled the case and won, which is a win, and it's going to be back pay for some
There's
members.
going to be back pay. We also have levels because all the administrators, managers do different jobs. So we now have levels 1, 2, and 3 in administrative managers, and they will be paid according to the work that they do.
President Middleton, you're working on this every single day, the contract. But what do you say to members that may feel that you are withholding information when they don't receive the constant updates?
We update the members as often as we can. It's impossible to tell members every day what's going on. There are so many moving parts to not only the contract, but just to keep the local going, just to make sure that members are represented with other issues that happen at 1180. So we, as often as we can, we update members through our social media, and we just ask our members to be patient. Know that the work is getting done.
Madam President, let me ask you this. Do you see, with your contract negotiation, do you see any sticking point at this time?
Well, actually, right now, the negotiations are going pretty smooth. And I don't want to say that our EEO case might have had a little to do with that, but
but the EEO case had a little bit to do with it.
The city is, as we go through our demands, there's some things that we know we're going to get and some things that we know we're not. But that's why it's called bargaining, and that's why it's called negotiations. Right now, we're just trying to see with how the money is being spread and how we can best use it to allocate for the different members there. So we actually have a meeting coming up on the 21st, I believe, with the Office of Collective Bargaining to go through those numbers once again. And that means we're getting closer to near the end. Just want to let the members know it takes time. There's a process. After we go back to the bargaining committee and they agree with what we have agreed to with the city, there's still ratification that has to be done. So let them know the process is going on. I'm looking out for all my members, and we will get there soon.
Now, you mentioned the EEO case. So I watched you give a speech. And to be honest with you, even though I've covered politics in this town for 30 years, I did not know, I'm being honest with you, I did not know that women employees were doing the same job as men. Some in city agencies, and were receiving substantially less pay. You decided to do something about that.
Yeah, it started with the former president, Arthur Cheliotis. I was part of that executive board that made that decision. It happened with a certain title that we acquired, the administrative managers, and they call them non-managerial. We went to the Office of Collective Bargaining because we got a request from the members saying that in this certain position, they were being treated like less than human beings, overtime, but not getting paid. Working from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, because some of them were in the centers, the human resource centers, where you cannot leave until the last client goes home. And you know, people can walk into a welfare center at any time. Management transferring them just at their whim. You know, there were no rules. They did whatever they wanted with them. So there was a request with us for us to organize them way back in the 80s. And it was a long process. We had to go through the Office of Collective Bargaining. They wanted to talk to every administrative manager in the city to see what their job was, to decide whether these were, they had the right to collective bargaining. Having done that, we also worked to make sure that there was a civil service test for administrative managers, because there was none at the time. When that was all done, we finally acquired the title. We looked at the title, and we looked at what their salaries were, found out that there was a range of $50,000 to $150,000. That should not be.
Wait, Madam President, when you say a range of 50,000 to 150,000, you're saying salaries?
Salaries. There was a
For the same
range
job?
of 53,000 to 150,000.
For the same job?
Well, some people generally, because administrative managers do different things in different agencies. So we looked at that, and knowing the history, because a lot of us has been around for a while, we decided to look and see who was making the high end and who was making the low end. And guess what?
I kind of know where you're going.
Guess what? We found that mostly white males were making the high end. And then we were trying to get the statistics from the city and had to go to court to get that. Even through
You had to go to
request.
court to get the information.
Correct.
In terms of what should be public information.
What should be, because we did a full request and the city was refusing to hand it over.
Where does the case stand now?
The case stands where we are settled. Okay, we finally got together with the mayor and his attorneys to say, look, we're not trying to, break the city. We just want fair pay for the work that people do. And we sat down with the city and came up with a settlement to the tune of about $15 million between back pay, what the raises will be for those on the low end, and giving them an annuity payment for their retirement benefit. So with that settlement, we are done. We finally went to court on, this is August 5th, and the judge put his John Hancock on it, and in 120 days, we're looking for our members to get paid.
Thank you, President Middleton, for updating us on these very, very important topics for your members.
Thank you.
We hope you join us in our next segment